This is a high-capacity John Deere 1270G harvester tackling a massive pine that's pushing the machine to its absolute limits. And you can see the struggle start as the H425 head tries to use its spiked feed rollers to climb the trunk. But the bark is so thick and rough that the rollers keep vibrating and slipping. And then the operator has to pivot to making shallow horizontal relief cuts with the hydraulic chainsaw to weaken the base and create a flatter grip surface. And then once the head finally gets a firm clamp, the saw swings out to slice through the core while the operator uses the massive boom arm to steer the Titan so it falls precisely where intended. Look, this is a high-stakes move to prevent a barber chair and manage a dangerous widowmaker scenario, starting with the logger identifying a tree under extreme tension and then using a high-skill bore cut where the chainsaw tip is plunged directly into the center of the trunk to create a solid hinge. This specific technique leaves a strap of wood at the very back to hold the massive weight in place while the hinge is perfected, and then the logger carefully releases that final strap to trigger a controlled snap of several tons of tension. And then finally, the stump shot height difference ensures the tree kicks forward and falls safely away from nearby structures instead of sliding back toward the operator. Look, this is a massive Douglas fir being brought down on a steep hillside, starting with a technical face cut where the logger removes a triangular wedge to set the direction of the fall, and then he moves to the opposite side to perform the back cut, carefully leaving a thin strip of hinge wood to maintain control, and then as the saw reaches the perfect depth, the tree's weight takes over, causing it to pop off the stump and plummet down the slope, and then you really see the danger of the incline as the logger relies on his professional gear and precision to avoid a deadly butt jump from the sliding timber. Look, this is an experienced logger using a style chainsaw to fell a massive durian tree with surgical precision. First, he cuts a perfect triangular notch to set the direction of the fall, and then he performs a technical plunge cut into the center of the trunk to leave a small trigger of wood for safety. And then he drives an orange felling wedge into the back to prevent the tree's weight from pinching his bar, and then he finally slices through that remaining strip of wood to release the tension, sending the giant tree crashing down exactly where he intended. Look, this is a John Deere 1270G harvester using its H425 head to make logging look like an absolute breeze. First, the head grips the base of the tree and a hydraulic saw slices through the trunk in an instant, and then the operator uses the boom to guide the fall with precision, and then those powerful spiked rollers pull the trunk through while sharp knives strip away every single branch, and then internal sensors measure the wood so the saw can automatically buck the log into perfect lengths, processing an entire tree from standing timber to a clean stack of logs in under 30 seconds. Look, this is a masterclass in tree rigging where an arborist uses physics to dismantle a massive pine over a high-stakes residential zone, and it starts with him checking the face cut and syncing with his ground crew to ensure the rope slack is perfect, and then he secures the section using a high-strength rigging line and friction devices to create a controlled pulley system, and then the catch happens as the rope tension redirects the heavy log midair to swing it safely away from the pool and patio, and then the ground crew uses managed friction to lower the timber gently to the turf.